here's our solution to fixing college football. I talked about this with Turner in the previous episode about how there's going to be drastic examples that prophesize basically an upcoming change to college football to make things better or worse. And I'm not going to say it's going to change for the better because it's changed 2 or 3 times over the last 10 years. And frankly, it's only gotten worse. Now, the product of college football, meaning the execution on the field, the type of players, the talent pool, all that sort of stuff, the brands, the fans, that part of college football will never wither away. That'll always be electric, entertaining, and chaotic. But the national brand or product of college football has a major gap in it. And everyone knows this. You've heard it from Kirk Herbstreit. You've heard it from David Pollack. You've heard it from Joel Klatt. You've heard it from Josh Pate. You've heard it from, I want to be commissioner. I think this is the way to do it. Get rid of these committee guys. Barstool says this. ESPN says this. Notre Dame got robbed. Miami shouldn't be in. I mean, you can just go all day about how nobody's playing one another in conferences. 12 teams isn't enough. 12 teams is plenty enough. Why put Notre Dame in? Why not put Notre Dame in? Does head-to-head matter? Well, they played each other earlier in that year. It's a non-conference game. Well, the margin of victory for these guys was much greater. How does Texas A&M not get into the SEC championship after losing versus Texas? They have a better strength of schedule, record, et cetera, than Oregon, Ole Miss. How does Ole Miss get to coach or get to play in the college football playoffs without their head coach? Do they lose all their coordinators and stuff? Why are head coaches being hired right before the college football playoffs? Why is the transfer portal and signing day activating during Christmas? What is wrong with the calendar? The calendar needs to be, I just listed like 12 different issues within the realm of college football. And then you put up the selection committee or the commissioners and things like that. It's a bunch of boomers sitting in a conference room. And, I kind of relate this to Off the Dome. I haven't rehearsed this at all. This is all basically fresh off the dome. But I kind of relate this to, in the NFL, there was I called it a quarterback epidemic. But at the same time, I thought the coaching was great. I thought the coaching was smart. I thought it was innovative. I thought that the offenses that Sean McVay and LaFleur and the Shanahan tree guys were developing was super cool, super high tech, innovative, analytical. The game in that sense was getting a little bit better until, unless you're running just a pure RPO offense. But like if you watch the 49ers and the Rams and the Green Bay offense, there's just a lot of cool gadgets. And what do all those coaches have in common? They all got hired as young coaches. These guys, like a new generation of people. They weren't hiring 70-year-old coaches that have, the game of football has advanced. There is more to consider. There is more risk to take. There is less pussification of football, meaning, we're going for it on 4th down at midfield. The new NFL, analytics say go for it. You got to follow the analytics, got to go for it. And so when I think about it in terms of college football, I think, we've had great results with these young head coaches to where they're going out and they're winning Super Bowls, they're running innovative offenses. You see an awakening in the political landscape of this world where there's a lot of young people who know what they believe and why they believe it. They understand the football game. There's just like this uproar of this young generation wanting to come in and begging for change in all aspects of life. And college football is still sitting there, and it shows these boomers sitting in a room, with whiskey glasses and cigars and things like that. I know everybody's going to agree with this next take. How many of you guys have been in your office where you're working, or your cubicle, or if you're a sales guy, you're moving different arounds, and you start talking ball with that 50, 60, 70-year-old guy in the offense, and you have to just keep your mouth shut because of how abysmal, utterly abysmal the sports take is. But he's such a nice guy. For a fact that he doesn't watch football. He doesn't really necessarily know football. It's a different game now. It's boomer football bias is what, a boomer bias or whatever is what it is. And they're such sweet people or whatever. There's nothing wrong with the people. I'm just saying, like, you're grounded in your takes. You know exactly what you believe in and why you believe it. You understand that this quarterback is better than that one because of X, Y, and Z, or 1, 2, and 3. You just have your reasons. You've seen it. You've kept up with it. And then this guy comes along and says, I tell you what, the Dallas Cowboys should go hire Nick Saban. I mean, he would fix it in instance. I'd do that, and you go and get a quarterback like Mark Sanchez off the bench. I legit had somebody say this, saying that Mark Sanchez would be a better quarterback over Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott needs to be more like Brett Favre, who didn't throw a lot of interceptions. I was me, who run at the time was covering NFL and stuff. I was, if you're watching, I'm just biting my tongue. Just, oh my God, what God is testing me today. And so that's how I imagine these boomers who are watching college football with their old fashions and their cigars and things like that, bro. They're more concerned on what their tea time is than who should actually get in the college football playoffs, or how to fix college football playoffs. Because I genuinely believe that there is no way in hell you can make a drastic change to pay college football players and then have it look like the wild, wild west. And in such a serious manner, that how college football presents itself. It's such a serious sport. There's a lot of protocols. There's a lot of tampering that you can't allow to happen. There's a lot of timelines you have to meet. The calendar is very strict. The transfer portal is strict. Coaches moving different. All of it's strict. And your solution to fixing college football was, we're going to have it the wild, wild west. There's not going to be any salary cap. There's not going to be, the NIL is going to be like this broken, no loyalty, no contract, no limit, who can spend the most, who can buy the most players. And before, in the golden age of college football, in terms of the national brand, the global brand, everybody saw a logo and said, that person has so much emotional support and bias for that brand that, you know, when you go into that stadium, it's going to be loud, it's going to be this, and the players are going to play for that logo, for the love of the game, because they didn't get paid. They played for the love of the game. Now they're getting paid $2.1 million to play for a year, and then if they don't get enough leverage or playing time, well, they're just going to go to the next highest bidder. And you've heard that in other places before. So just in my spiel, I just want to say the solution to solving that is sitting. You've heard dozens. I'm not the only one. I'm not a special commentator on this to say like, oh, my idea is the best over here. You know, this is right off the dome, but it's, in my eyes, pretty damn simple to just kind of look at the landscape and go, okay, so we got these donors that are influencing 18-year-old athletes to go to certain schools because they're the highest bidder. So geographical location doesn't matter. Got it. So the way to fix that would be salary cap, contracts, and budgets, adjustable budgets. We'll get with accounting, we'll get with national accounts, we'll figure this thing out, right? And then additionally, we look at scheduling, and it's like, okay, we got a week 0 that has some teams playing, but then some other teams not playing. We've got 2 bye weeks. We've got some playing 7 conference games, some playing 9 conference games, some playing 10, some playing none, but they have agreement with a certain conference, and all of the teams that they scheduled were handpicked. How do we determine at the end of the year, if I was logistically thinking ahead of time, how do I, and this is the committee talking again, looking at the landscape, how do I figure out who's the best? I'm looking at this schedule here, the Big Ten, it's all side by side. Oregon doesn't play Ohio State. Indiana doesn't play Ohio State. USC doesn't play Indiana or Ohio State either. All these Big Ten teams are in there. We got a big branded conference, but I think it's a little bigger than 10 teams. And so they're just kind of looking at that going, okay, not everybody plays one another, but simultaneously we're going to announce a champion. Okay, looking at that, the issue there right in front of their eyes that everybody can see that's listening to this is going, make it 10 teams, make everybody play one another. You know, what's the difference of what the brands make the conference? The conference doesn't make the brand. So, you know, if you had a Big Ten conference and it was Texas A&M, or sorry, not Texas A&M, if you had a Big Ten conference and it was Texas, Ohio State, USC, Notre Dame, and a couple other big brands, you wouldn't give a shit what the conference was called. You would go, man, this conference is stacked. There are so many big branded teams in here. This is the best conference right there. They've got Bama, Ohio State. All these guys that are always in the playoffs are all in one conference, and they all play each other. It's nuts. The best team in the conference was 8-4. Yeah, like that would be crazy, right? And so that's what I'm asking for. I think that's what a lot of the college football audience is asking for, is for crying out loud, make these guys play one another, damn it. Like, what's the point of college football if no one's going to play one another? How are we going to determine a champion? Well, you know, I think Oregon should be number 5 because they're 11-1 in their point differential, and I guess they got tested versus USC, and they had the rivalry game, quote unquote, versus Washington. But Texas A&M played an SEC schedule and beat LSU with their coach, but most of the SEC guys, well, they didn't play Alabama and they didn't play Georgia. Make them play one another. It's all just sitting there. And then, of course, I'll just continue to ramble on, but, you go to the calendar, you're looking at it right there, and you're like, okay, Lane Kiffin is considering leaving to LSU right before the college football playoffs. Their AD is requesting that Lane Kiffin makes a decision right before the Egg Bowl. When's the Egg Bowl? Shit fire. The Egg Bowl is right before Thanksgiving, or right after Thanksgiving. Well, what's after that? The conference championship week, which means playoffs is the week after, 2 weeks after that. Wait, so you're telling me that if Lane Kiffin were to choose LSU, then Ole Miss would go into the playoffs without a coach? Wait, it's happening to Lane too? Wait, and these other coaches are being hired on, which means they're gone. The bowl-eligible teams are losing their head coaches, which means we're going to get a lesser quality of football, whether at the highest stage or the medium stage or the lowest stage. Wait, what? Okay, so we'll just adjust the calendar. We'll move it a week ahead of week 0 and call that week 1. We'll end the season around Thanksgiving. In terms of the regular season or the conference championships are going to be played Thanksgiving weekend, something like that. We'll have an Army-Navy game at week 0 to kick off the season. Every year, you're kicking off the season with the most patriotic game of the year. Donald Trump or whoever the fuck is president, Palantir is going to show up and are going to sponsor the event, and everything's going to be great, fine, and dandy. Army-Navy kick off the college football season and the rest of football. This is the greatest show on turf, and we're going to play it on a USS Destroyer with Blackhawks and Blackbirds, and Tom Cruise can fly his damn 20-knot spaceship over it and go, yep, he's going to parachute onto midfield. Tom Cruise, everybody. That's Maverick, who just landed at midfield, and now Army will do their salute with the band coming. Like, dude, that's easy. It's easy. Marketing people, come on. Marketing. Army-Navy, week 0, early August, in the season with conference championships.